The Around the NFL podcast will own you on the dance floor.
Welcome back to another edition of the Around the NFL podcast. My name is Dan Hanzus, and I am joined by a room filled with heroes, Marc Sessler, Chris Wesseling, and Gregg Rosenthal. What's up, boys?
Hey, Dan. That opening is just a bold-faced lie.
What are you saying? We're
What?
not heroes?
Oh, I am quite possibly the worst dancer in L.A., and I imagine none of you three looks like a great dancer.
First of all, looks can be deceiving.
Hey, you're wrong about that.
In my younger years, when I was a college student in Boston, and it was very big to go to clubs and go hip-hop dancing, I wasn't bad. I'm not going to say I'm a great dancer, but I can, a little bit.
Your move, usually in this room at least, maybe that's not a good indication, is just putting your arms up kind of like Friday Night Lights, the wife.
Also like Fraggle Rock.
Friday Night Lights wife with the wine in her hand.
Drunk, yeah. To start the show.
It's a distance thing for me. My ears are too far from my feet.
All right, that makes sense. This is the Tuesday edition of the Around the NFL podcast, and, a lot to get to. We got the Monday night game recap, which is going to be very fun because there's a lot to talk about there. Another Packers victory. Some trades in the NFL involving one franchise that might be thrown in the old tank, the old tankaroo, before the start of October. Yes, we are going to choose the team of Around the NFL.
Are we?
This is going to, well, hopefully.
What if it doesn't happen?
Then it's not happening. I mean, let's face it. If we can't come up with something, we got to just bag the whole thing. Let's come out of this room. It's
today.
Like, what are it, 12 angry men? Just 4 angry men. We'll figure it out.
I like that. Let's do it.
Right?
I'm not angry.
No, sometimes you can be.
Well, you're in charge. You don't need to be angry.
It's time to fork some teams. That's that time of year again. We're feeling bullish about our fork capabilities, so we're going to name some teams that have no chance of going to the playoffs. And then we're going to preview the Thursday night game, which, of course, is a AFC North showdown between the 0-3 Ravens and the 2-1 Steelers. That's a lot of show. And but before we get into it, I do want to check in. You can a lot of ways to access the Around the NFL podcast. You have Stitcher, you have iTunes, you have the NFL.com site, you have
YouTube.
YouTube only on our Sunday night show now, just to clarify for any listeners looking for it. Just the Sunday night show.
Apple TV. Some people have Apple TV even, so that's good too. But I do like to check in at iTunes because they do have a customer reviews section. And I will start by saying the reviews are very good. It's an average of 4.5 out of 5 stars. That seems good. We once won an award, Best of 2013. That was a long time ago now.
Well, it's Best New Podcast.
Yeah.
So we can't be.
We're just coasting off of that now.
We're coasting. So, I figured we love that our fans submit reviews. Sometimes the reviews aren't great. So let's just go over a couple of reviews before we get into Monday night. It'll be fun. Brandon, we'll start with, let's do positive. Throne of Ease, 5 stars. Want to listen to a great podcast by a group of guys who absolutely love football and will make you laugh? The only thing left to do is bet against Andy Dalton in the playoffs, and you're all set. Big fan.
That's right.
That was nice.
Goddamn right.
Thank you, Emily Hanzus.
Yeah, that's nice. How about this? This one I like. I like this one. Not terrible. 2 stars out of 5. As big as the NFL is, you'd think there'd be a lot to offer by way of podcasts. There's not, though. This particular group of knuckle-dragging megaminds are overwhelmingly annoying to listen to, but offer some good insight every now and then. Dan Hanzus sort of hosts the show. Marc Sessler tries way too hard to use vocabulary that sits outside of his 4th grade reading level and makes himself sound like an idiot. Gregg Rosenthal makes cool indie picks about trending teams and players, and Chris Wesseling just complains about the listeners in his weird, hybrid, super obnoxious accent. What the hell is that? The show is fine. I'll listen to it if there's nothing else left.
Thank you, Simone Sessler.
Wow. That was on the nose, and yet,
Let's do another good one, just, This one is, Get Off My Back, Dad. 5 stars. One of the most entertaining podcasts out there. Has been a staple in my iPhone for years. That's nice. There's another one, Quintessential Football Podcast. If you're a fan of podcasts in the NFL, there's no reason you shouldn't be listening to the ATN crew.
What about the fact that we're knuckle draggers?
Well, that's a different guy. How about this one? Stay on Football. You know, they hate. Sometimes they don't like it when you.
That was Gregg.
Football. 1 star out of 5.
Wow.
Is this a serious football podcast or amateur comedy hour?
Ooh.
That's a good question. All right, one more.
Does it say something about me, like the nice ones don't mean anything to me, but I kind of like hearing the negative ones?
I think that does say.
Here's a good one. So good. 5 stars, royal listener. Favorite podcast of all the random ones I have. That's good. But then, Unbearable Smugness, 1 star by Mr. Falcon.
That was Delaware's first album.
It's honestly hard to get through an entire episode. The hosts, despite what they may think, are really unfunny and lack basic football knowledge. I guess that's what I should have expected from podcasts hosted by journalists who have never played football in their lives.
Oh, wow.
You know, by the way,
journos.
let me just tell you something. What's your name? Mr. Falcon, you clown. There are plenty of shows that you can watch. Check the dial, buddy, to hear athletes with nothing relevant to say post-career. Go find it and go enjoy hot takes about, Aaron Rodgers, he's just a football player. Go enjoy it.
I gotta admire the people that dislike the show but keep listening to us.
That says more about them.
That's what we're looking for. If
They
have to listen to us so badly that they just can't stop doing it, even though they don't enjoy it. I don't quite understand that.
Yeah.
I think it's accurate and fair to say I have a weird hybrid accent, but that take on Mark's vocabulary wasn't fair at all.
I thought it was fair criticism.
You graduated.
It seemed fair.
You graduated high school.
And I did.
I did graduate. Well, I got past 4th grade.
That guy, he was especially biting. He's KDO 242600. I did, just out of curiosity, I clicked in to see his other reviews. And while we didn't get a good review, he did have a nice review of Ice Age Village, a game. Addicted, 5 stars. Love it, but need more opportunities to earn acorns. You're a loser. So,
all right. Well,
let's, keep it real. You're a loser. All right, that's it. Well, listen, no one said I handle criticism well.
No.
Well, I think, it was bold of you to read the negatives along with the positives. I thought they were much more interesting.
Right.
I want to read more
and
negatives.
And our listeners should, chime in too. It helps.
Listen, yes, there are good reviews, many more good reviews than bad reviews, but this is a good way to keep on even ground. You don't want to go floating away, big old head out of the building. Hey, Brandon, our last week with Brandon, how you doing, bud?
I'm good. Good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you getting a little
misty-eyed?
Misty-eyed now?
No, not yet. Thursday.
You're young though, because you have a lot of opportunity ahead of you, no matter what happens here.
Oh, I appreciate that.
That's good. All right, let's do some news.
You got it.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is going to hurt like a mother.
Am I the only one that didn't know that's from?
I have no idea what it's from.
It's from The Office.
That's what I thought.
Michael Scott's taking the last day.
Oh.
There we go. All right, there we go.
All right, late period Office. I like it.
There we go.
Nicely done.
All right, very well done. All right, let's start with the Monday Night Football game, where Aaron Rodgers delivered another Aaron Rodgers performance, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, threw over 300 yards, a 38-28 win over the Chiefs in Lambeau Field. This was a game that was not as close as the final score indicates. It was, I believe, 31-7 at one point. James Jones went off. He has revitalized 100 yards plus and a touchdown. Randall Cobb had 3 touchdowns. No Jordy Nelson, no problem for the Packers offense. 38-28. And Wes, you wrote up the piece on NFL.com, or What We Learned, which I heartily endorse. Everyone should check it out. This was just more magic from Aaron Rodgers.
It was. I think what we're seeing this year is just that he's raised the art of quarterbacking. He has raised his game to a new level. We knew about the arm talent, which is the best in the NFL and among the best we've ever seen. We know about his athleticism, his capability, his scrambling, his decision-making. And then he's got this new thing that he's doing this year where he's just reliably almost getting defenses to jump off sides and attacking them for big plays, or quick snapping defenses to get 12 men on the field calls and still attacking for big plays. And it's a lethal part of his game now.
Well, he's so consistent right now. This was a game he didn't have the wow plays that he often does, and yet he'll just cut you up anyways. he'll have the subtle plays where, I mean, he is the best in the league at just creating extra time to make what on paper isn't that tough of a throw, but the setup to it is very difficult. The footwork it takes and getting space to make the throw. He is the best at doing that. I mean, this is a game where he can have 333 yards and 5 touchdowns, and I can think that might have been the third best game he had this year. Like, that's how good he is. He didn't need to be any better because he's so good before the snap, like a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning.
I had, like, the rare chance to just sit at home and watch it on the iPad with no interruptions and nothing I had to do on the side. And I asked Wes this morning when I came in because, we don't get to watch the games that close when they're happening in full length time. And listening to him operate with the center, the way they had the directional mic, you could hear Rodgers pre-snap talking to center. All right, boy, who you got? What's up, boys? Who you got? And then the center was like, I got 90. He's like, sounds good. I mean, it was like all this like
Mark,
pre-snap
falling in love
talk.
with football.
Well, no, because you don't see that out of a lot of quarterbacks. And I think that Rodgers, especially the 12-men thing that he got them on twice, he outcoached Andy Reid from the field. And you look at bad teams.
Pointing at you.
You could go like the Browns, for instance. I can't think of one quarterback performance, one game where a quarterback did what Rodgers did last year.
That was your text
Not
last
one
night. Was
game.
When was the last time the Browns had a quarterback that would be quick enough to pull that off? And
When's the last time anyone had a
your
quarterback?
answer is just about never. Never.
The craziest thing for me watching the game, and it was so fun to watch Rodgers, which makes what we'll talk about a little bit later about some advanced metrics grading about Rodgers' performance all the stranger. But the fact that he didn't even – the Chiefs, you got to give him some credit. They actually got to him a little bit in terms of rushing the passer. They made some plays. They almost had an interception. They stripped him at one point. It got called back. It wasn't like the Chiefs didn't show up on defense, and yet you look at the final score and you look at his stats and you look the way he controlled the game. Even with Kansas City showing up, in my opinion, it still wasn't even close to good enough against a guy at that level.
But there were plays, too, where they did about just as much as you could ask from a couple of pass rushers. And he, with eyes in the back of his head, and we've seen it a million times, pivots, dances around, floats across the field, and completes a pass to someone that no one else saw. I mean,
right. Well, that was
amazing.
my takeaway from the Seahawks game was that the Seahawks defense played a good game. They were the Seahawks defense in that game. They pressured him. They were outstanding with their pressure the whole game. The biggest plays against them were perfect passes that were impossible to stop and great catches by his receivers who have done a fantastic job this year without Jordy Nelson. They might not get as open as they used to, but his receivers are making plays for him.
Yeah, he loses Devontae Adams. He loses Jordy Nelson. He loses Andrew Corliss, and he keeps on going. Like there's in the intelligence to attack Marcus Cooper. Jamel Fleming had been the Chiefs' weak spot at nickel. They bring in Marcus Cooper. He attacks him right away. 2 big penalties in the touchdown to Ty Montgomery. Then Tyvon Branch, their safety, has to play Cobb in the slot, and he attacks that matchup. And it's something that maybe people grading the game might not see and might not give him credit for, but you have to give him credit for it. That's part of quarterbacking.
Before we get into the PFF, what do we think about the Chiefs? Because you said they showed up, and I hear you on some level, but on the other hand, it's why we haven't been excited or why I'm annoyed that the Chiefs were on in primetime twice. They were just supporting actors in the Aaron Rodgers and Packers show. The game was over quickly. They have these star players like Houston and Charles and Travis Kelce, and yet they're just they're so uninspiring
That's
to
not
watch.
fair, though,
the game is over after 3 quarters. I know they came back.
List the teams in that spot on Monday night at Lambeau Field with Aaron Rodgers healthy and at the height of his powers, where that's a competitive game right now.
I don't care about what time the game is. The Bears were competitive in week 1.
That's a good point, but this game was the quintessential example of why the Andy Reid, Alex Smith formula doesn't add up to wins in big games, because that 2-minute drill before the half was embarrassing and frustrating, and everything you need to know about the Andy Reid, Alex Smith combination. They didn't attack down the field.
Didn't they run like a 17-play drive?
Yeah, how about that at the end of the game when they needed to score quickly? In theory, it looks better on the scoreboard. Well, that's because the Packers let you take a 17-play drive that took up 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, because it's just not in their DNA to go fast and to push the ball down the field. So that's fine, but it's only going to take you to 9 wins.
I mean, that feeds into what my takeaway with the Chiefs was. They were just badly outcoached. There were plenty of times where they needed to run, hurry up, and move that thing, and they just seemed completely in a different world. It was like the Eagles in the Patriots Super Bowl.
I thought it was funny when you tweeted that Aaron Rodgers was out coaching Andy Reid.
Well, he was on the field. I mean, he created multiple Chiefs penalties, like we talked about.
He makes everyone look so bad.
Yeah.
He's like watching Greg in the newsroom when breaking news happens.
yeah.
Greg is just
It's like Minority
maneuvering.
Report where he's got the screen
Well-
in front of him. Everything's happening.
And they did the whole, draft montage with Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers just as we talked about. And I kept thinking, like, of course Andy Reid, if he had Aaron Rodgers, he would be a much better coach. It's like when Alex Smith drew the Packers offsides late in the game, he went for a big play too. I don't know if you remember that play, and he was intercepted. And they kept the ball. But when Aaron Rodgers pulls the other team offsides, he goes for the big play, and he gets the touchdown because he's Aaron Rodgers.
So the Chiefs got rid of that drought, which had become the most notorious stat.
Did you know?
Since Week 13 of 2013, no touchdowns to wide receivers. But an even more ignominious stat, this is just crazy to me, 62 consecutive games without a 2-minute drill touchdown.
That was mentioned during that game, and that is ridiculous.
The broadcast crew mentioned that, and they showed the clip, and I just thought that is unbelievable. Now, Alex Smith and Andy Reid are only responsible for half of those games, but it just goes to show you how badly the Chiefs have been quarterbacked.
All right, and now let's talk about that PFF rating of Aaron Rodgers' game. He had 5 touchdowns, no picks, 333 passing yards, a 138.5 passer rating, and yet he got a negative grade by PFF. And PFF, for those that don't know, is a analytics site that we at the Around the NFL and many other people refer to often. It's a really good research tool. But this got a lot of buzz on the internet on Tuesday morning because it was so out of whack. And, Wes, I know you must have something to say about this.
You went after some of the writers, Wes.
I don't think I did go after them.
Okay.
I'm not angry about it. I'm embarrassed for them. I really am, because they put out great work, and I know how hard they work. I love their metrics, but their grades are flawed. It's a grading system that is inherently flawed, and it depends on what the person doing the grading sees and values, and they don't value what I value, and I don't think they value what other astute analysts and coaches value.
Well, it just belies common sense to look at him have a negative 0.0.
They graded last night's game as one of the worst games of his last 5 years.
Well, they're saying, and I think this is fair, that you have to count the play where he held onto the ball forever and fumbled.
Right, but
and
how
they
much
didn't get
do you
it back.
count it? Do you count that as -1 or
No.
-0 point?
Right. I'm saying it doesn't add up that they don't count anything pre-snap. They say that's intangibles. Like deciding where to go with the ball to them is intangibles. They're only counting post-snap. So
Which makes the grade useless.
which should be listed at the top of the rankings,
Right.
I guess, because if you're grading Peyton Manning for the last 5 years only post-snap, how is that Peyton Manning? Because
Right.
that's where all the
And
magic is.
I considered having somebody from PFF on, but I felt like it was going to become a bloodbath if that happened. But I
Yeah.
just will say
It would have been.
Ben Stockwell, who's one of the writers, offered a blog post explaining himself. And, Greg, you mentioned the intangible aspect where they say they tried not to factor that in. And then he added that the 3 Randall Cobb touchdown passes, good job for the points. They weren't hard passes necessarily.
That's fine. That makes sense to me.
They were trying to, and they're also saying even though it was a negative grade, this maybe speaks to something they might have to get together in a room and fix this as well. That's not a bad game if it's a negative score, so that's a little misleading.
Because it was barely negative. It was like a C.
Yeah,
but
but
that's
he had
still bad, though, right?
in the
It's
first
just-
game against the Bears, he had a rating of 7,
Yeah.
positive.
Well,
so was it that much different than that
I
game?
thought
Is he
the
that much
first
worse?
game of the year was his best game of the year, but this was a casual fan can see watching this game. It was a great performance, and if their grading system can't figure out how to measure that, then
Well,
it's a mess.
To their defense, everyone keeps calling it advanced metrics and advanced statistics. What they do is scouting. Putting the numbers on it is where everyone gets carried away and confused, I think, and it is confusing to me, too, because all they're doing is evaluating each play. It has nothing to do with statistics. I mean, all they're doing is giving a plus score and a minus score, and that's what scouts do on every.
But it adds up to metrics when you've got hurries
But it's
and
not-
yards after contact.
It has nothing to do with
And-
like advanced statistics, though. That it just seems like a weird misnomer. It's a totally subjective
The subjective
evaluation.
part is the reason why you end up with a minus 0.3 grade for Rodgers. When anyone with 2 eyes can see it was a great
In their
game.
defense, I do think you could watch the 3 Aaron Rodgers games this year and make that evaluation. This was actually the 3rd least impressive game, but that's just speaking to how unbelievable he was.
Right. They also evaluated it as less impressive than Nick Foles' performance.
That's
and
outrageous.
Blake Bortles.
Dan and I are
outrageous.
actually at the
That's
cozy
outrageous.
having beers at this point. We're not. We've just
if
stepped
we,
out of
we
outrageous.
could turn
two-person
Wes and
conversation.
Greg loose to talk football analytics and scouting. We'd be here all day, but we got to move on. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. Let's talk a trade in the NFL. Jared Allen was obviously not a good fit when John Fox came into power in Chicago, playing in a 3-4, and now he was stuck on a bad Bears team. So what happens? They do the guy a favor, it seems like. They trade him to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers will send a 2016 6th-round pick to Chicago. It sounds like the Bears are also going to assume a lot of the salary that Jared Allen was owed. So now the Panthers get a veteran pass rusher. It's unknown how much he has left in the tank, but it's a borderline Hall of Fame candidate with, I believe, over 100 career sacks. And the Bears, obviously, in going in a different direction, totally, they also traded John Bostic, a linebacker, to the Patriots for a 2016 late-round pick. So the Bears at 0-3 seem to be packing it in right now.
Well, the first one, Jared Allen, I would give credit to the Bears GM, Ryan Pace. It's a classy move. And I think it should help them lure free agents in the future. That a guy like Jared Allen, who's the active sack leader and respected around the league, he's not going to have to sit there and deal with a dumpster fire all year. You actively find a contender for him to play on.
But reading between the lines of some of the reports, I think that's basically because they foresaw that becoming a problem, that they didn't necessarily like him being there when they saw no long-term future for him, and they wanted to get snaps.
Well,
from
it's
younger
something
players.
Jared Allen mentioned in August.
Right, and it makes total sense. He's at a new position, all that. The money thing that you mentioned, Dan, is the amazing part about it. They were forced to give him $11.5 guaranteed $1 million in March because the previous GM had, guaranteed that. So they gave him all that money, and the Panthers get a starter. Even if Jared Allen's not great anymore, he's a league average starter at this point. They get a starter for no money the rest of the year. It's not that the Bears are, paying his money. He's only due $1 million this year, so they owe him about $800,000. So they owe him. They get a starter for that cheap and basically nothing, which is great for Carolina.
One of the reasons why bad teams stay bad. They have regime changes every couple of years, and every time you change your scheme, a guy like Jared Allen, like you mentioned, they have to pay him $10 million because they had signed him for a 4-3 defense.
I think it's interesting that this coaching staff is talking about scheme fit, and it speaks to long-term planning when you're ready to get rid of Bostic, especially as a young player, and not shift him over. I'm not sure this coaching staff's going to be here that long if they continue the season the way it is, because there's nothing to like. They're last in the league in points allowed per game.
Well, you have to have some buy-in from ownership, I believe, that, hey, can we get rid of these old players that didn't fit? And that you get a couple years, because that's why they're in this situation.
I was going to say, how much can you hang on? I know John Fox isn't a favorite in this room, but he inherited a bad roster and a terrible situation right at the top of the offense with Jay Cutler. This is not a one-year project. You would think they'd be smart enough to give this regime a couple of years.
But why are you waiting until September 29th?
Yeah.
Didn't you know they weren't a scheme fit in March and April and May?
Right. You could have eaten the money then. Maybe it was hard to convince ownership, hey, I know we have to give this guy $12 million, but we just don't even want him on our team. And maybe it was hard to convince him then, and now they can, because that's a lot of money. That's an insane amount of money.
But
it was a bad contract when the old regime gave it to him. It was a very bad contract.
After you start out 0-3 with the worst point differential in the league, you can be John Fox and Ryan Pace and walk into ownership and say, hey, realistically, our goal now is to get the best draft pick we can get and rebuild this thing.
The Bostic thing, quickly, I just want to mention, he was a top 50 pick. That played okay for them last year.
He did not. He's a liability in run support. His instincts, he doesn't know where to go.
Started 17 games in his first 2 seasons. Second-round pick out of Florida.
It's kind of reminiscent of Akeem Ayers and Jonathan Casillas last year, 2 guys who played roles on the Super Bowl team, traded at the deadline.
If I was Gerard Mayo, not that most people probably care that much, but if I'm Gerard Mayo, I'd be a little worried about this. He has not been much of a factor this year. They bring in Bostic, who plays the same position. I think Gerard Mayo's who's been a great Patriots player, is probably on his way out there.
Bears are all in on a 2-14. They're pushing all the chips.
Where are 2 wins coming from?
I don't know. Stumble.
They basically bagged the season when they refused to move away from Jay Cutler.
Yeah. All right. That's what's happening in the news.
Of ATL. Only one team can earn the right. Now's the time to shine a light on the team.
Oh!
This is a very special honor.
Indeed. What are you laughing at, Wes?
I was laughing because Mark laughed. You could tell just how silly he thought the lyrics were. Only one
I wrote
team
those.
can earn the right.
Dan
I always forget how long it is. I always think, wait, isn't it? Oh, wow, it's so good.
That could be as long as Bohemian Rhapsody. I would never stop playing. I love it so much. Yes, it is. What is that last line in the song?
It's a very special.
Very special honor.
And it is. And, that's why we put so much thought into it each year. Whether or not the teams actually know that they are the Team of ATL or ATN, it's an honor that even they don't know about. Just like Mark, there's somebody out there that you've never met that thinks you're the greatest thing that ever happened to NFL.com.
Not according to the review that you read before.
Not that guy, but he
All right.
also he wants more acorns, so don't get too beat up about that. But there's somebody out there that thinks you're the best guy in this podcast, and he loves your writing, and he likes your wit and how you get crusty sometimes, and how you point your finger and you get the fire eyes. All that stuff makes them love you. That's us with whatever team we choose. They don't know, but it doesn't mean that love's not there.
Dan channeling
buy
Stuart
that.
Small.
I think they are
I
going
could buy that to some degree.
we started out a humble little podcast, but we're no longer humble. We're going to make this team know. They're going to know. We're going to have some of them on.
Okay.
And by the end, the whole country's going to be talking.
With the way these team sites like to self-glorify themselves, they'll take advantage
No,
of
that's
it.
a fair point, especially the social media guys. So 2013, the first year we did it, the Carolina Panthers did us proud. 2014, we struggled a little bit, settled on the Chargers, much to Wes's chagrin. They were okay. They were in the mix till the end of the season. They put up some exciting games. But listen, no one's going to say the Chargers will be the ultimate Team of ATL, the 2014 edition, which takes us to 2015. And it's time to decide, because if you take it too much longer, then it's like, what are you even here for?
That's what we did last year.
Clowns, you jabronis. Just make a decision. And on Sunday's show, if you listen to Sunday's show, which you can still check it out, by the way, at NFL.com/podcast or on iTunes or Stitcher or YouTube, where our Sunday night shows are available. We talked about how the Cardinals were right on the precipice, a team that we almost picked last year. And this year, we got 3 yes votes from Gregg and Mark and Wes, and I held out, not because I'm against the Cardinals, but just because I wanted to, cross the T's and dot the I's, if you will. And I do want to nominate another team.
Well, it is a very special honor. You got to give it the attention it deserves.
Exactly. And that is Dick Banks, by the way, the one-man house band who performed that song. We actually paid him to do that. We paid. There was like
Where did the
check.
money come from?
Roger Goodell.
It actually, came from some sort of budget.
Someone paid for that song. I just want to make that clear as
Dickie
well.
B?
Is there more money in that coffer that we
That's-
could use for our own fund?
And we, of course, were put in touch with Dick Banks from
Did you get a
Dave
songwriting
Damashek.
credit?
I haven't gotten a
money?
royalty check yet, but I'm hoping it eventually lands in my mailbox. So thank you to Shaq for putting us in touch with Dick Banks. And Greg, you and I were on the Shaq show on Tuesday morning, so you could check us out there too. All right. Now, so the Cardinals are obviously a finalist, and we can get into that a little later. I'm going to just formally nominate the Atlanta Falcons, and I'll give a quick resume, if you will, and then we'll talk about it. And Wes, you have to promise me to have an open mind here.
Okay.
The Falcons are 3-0. We know that. That's great. Great start. A team, after languishing under Mike Smith in those final years, one of the most boring teams, get a total facelift under new coaching. 3-0, averaging 29.7 points a game. This is a team that puts up points. If you're a guy that likes scoring, you like the Falcons, so they're going to score points. They're second in the league in passing, So, yes, there's a lot of action going on there. 14th in rushing. They used to be an albatross when it comes to rushing the football. They got two nice little players in the backfield there, as we saw
They run the ball.
this past week. So they have a balanced offense. Julio Jones, we talk about, we like to watch his team. How could you not like to watch Julio Jones?
He's good.
Historical talent, and he's on pace for a historic season. Matt Ryan. Now, I bring up Matt Ryan because I consider Matt Ryan, and Greg, I think you agree, a QB in need of more love. When you talk about who are the quarterbacks everyone's always talking up is the best in football, Matt Ryan is, to me, the top 5 conversation at quarterback, and we don't hear that enough. And finally, Dan Quinn, around the NFL favorite. I know Wes and Mark both had nice personal interactions with Quinn, I believe at the Combine or at the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, right?
At the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl.
Yes, and left you with a nice taste in your mouth by the bald, handsome, goateed Dan Quinn. And a nice name, by the way. And the Jets' second choice as head coach. So I think about that as well. Probably would have been the Jets' head coach if the Seahawks didn't go to the Super Bowl.
He was the Browns' top choice, and they didn't want to wait for him.
Yeah, I thought the thought was he was their first choice.
Yep, and then they went to the Super Bowl. So who knows? History could have played out differently. That is the resume for the Atlanta Falcons. Your thoughts, guys?
I would quickly vote yes. I think you're going to have a tough time getting 4 across, but I would quickly vote yes for what you mentioned. Also, Kyle Shanahan, I think, is one of my favorite coordinators who you just see what happened in Cleveland since he's left. Big problems. I think that he's completely changed the running game in Atlanta. They annoyed me last year because it was Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and nothing else. And they're a little more balanced this season. I think Quinn, we like Quinn. I would vote yes without any hesitation, even though they're a dome team. Don't care. I'm willing to bend off that.
Well, the dome team thing doesn't bother me generally. The malaise of their fandom has bothered me over the years at some points. I think they're going to be getting into this team. I would hope so. One thing I really like about the Falcons in terms of wanting to watch them each week, some teams just get in entertaining games, and the Falcons are one of those teams. And I think those are often teams that are weighted towards the offense, which this team is going to be. You watch the 3 Falcons games this year, they've all been entertaining. I mean, the Monday night game was great. The Giants game was back and forth, big comeback win, and the Cowboys game was another big comeback win. So they've got that little extra juice.
That's well said.
Something.
Wes.
Well, I'm inclined to like the Falcons. I spent 8 years in Georgia. I treasure that time. Julio Jones is one of my favorite players since he's entered the league. Vic Beasley is already one of the most fun pass rushers to watch.
Vic.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Quinn, like you said, one of my favorite coaches. But I'm voting no because there can only be one team of ATL, and that's the Cardinals.
Woo!
Well, I mean, that to me doesn't count necessarily as a reason why to vote against them.
I know, because you have a team you're already in love with. The team of ATL is a lark for you. I judge this
That's
based
totally
on,
unfair and baseless, Wes.
It is a lark. You're not going to sit here and watch game film of the Falcons every week.
I will every week if this happens.
I do not believe you for a second.
I
I want to
promise.
see that happen.
Jesus, I promise, I will.
Look, to me, this is about when I get
He
home
went to the top for
after
that
a 13-hour Sunday at work. When I get home and I want to go to sleep or watch Casablanca or something, what game do I turn on just because,
Humblebrag?
even though I have no fumes left in the tank, who's inspiring me to watch Game Pass that night?
Yeah.
And it's the Cardinals, easily.
The Falcons would be towards the top of my list of in terms of who are the most entertaining teams. That's why I would vote yes. Now I have a different voting philosophy, which is if you brought up 4 or 5 teams, I would vote yes on the Rams. I still like the Rams. I know that would never happen.
Right.
I wouldn't totally.
Come on, Peter Pan. Come back to earth.
I would not totally. Well, those would probably be the 3 teams that I would favor the most. I would vote yes.
I'm with you. I think that after going through this drill a couple of years, that I would vote for the Titans. I'd vote yes for the Falcons. I'd vote yes. I'll vote for the Cardinals, but you're right, Wes. It's not because it's my favorite team that I'm itching to watch. I think it really boils down when it was the Panthers. We've been through this. It was this, in my opinion, this was a team that you and Greg got into. I liked them.
It was completely organic, and that's how the Cardinals are for me as well.
It was completely organic, but it was something that you two were more fascinated about. I'll roll with the ride. I'm not going to hold you up, but it's not because the Cardinals are the only team that gets my juices flowing.
The Panthers still get my juices flowing because they got the same quarterback that they've always had, and they're overachieving once again. I still like the Panthers.
I mean, Dan, here's the thing.
Yes.
You could pitch all 31 other teams, and you're not getting them through at this point.
Well,
Well,
That's true.
You're not.
That's a true
He's
statement.
gonna,
I'm only voting
and Wes,
for the
let's be
Cardinals.
honest, exactly. He's going to shut down anything else that comes up. So it's either the Cardinals or bust.
Right.
And that's the situation we were in last year.
Let's
too.
we need to be honest though, and it sounds like we are going to go with the Cardinals because this is the equivalent of a temper tantrum. Let's be honest, Wes.
It's not a temper tantrum. I think that you have the luxury
Yes.
of a team to root for. The team of ATL means something way different to you than it does to me.
That's why I
I-
don't think it's the team of ATL.
But
it's the team of West.
why
And I
are
don't
you
say
having-
that in a negative way.
Here's the
It's
thing.
just it's
Look,
not about us.
I would vote to get rid of it because I don't think that we can come to a mutual respect here
No.
on
I would agree.
I don't like being cast as the evil person
No,
here
it's
when
not
I feel
evil.
like I have the right attitude.
I agree. I think West does have the right attitude in terms of this conversation today, which is Falcons and Cardinals. Because to me, the Cardinals are the more entertaining team. They are exciting. I love their coach. I love John Brown. I love the Carson Palmer story that he has a chance to finally have a team around him. They've made me like Chris Johnson this year. That's fun. Like everything about them, that they're a downtrodden franchise. We all loved them in this room last year. So when it comes down to it, there can only be one team. And I think the Cardinals are the best team of the teams we're talking
Now,
about. They are the best option.
Hear me out on this, Wes. I'm down with the Cardinals too.
All right.
I'm not against the Cardinals. I just felt that it was important, and there are people out there. Oh, what about the Panthers again? Enjoy beating teams that are combined 1-8 through 3 weeks. We'll see what happens. We'll see where your record's at after week 17. Nice start. I like you, Cam Newton, but you're not in the mix. And to me, it was the Falcons that jumped out. But I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop down here and not let this happen just because I want the Falcons that bad. Because it doesn't matter that much to me. I think the Cardinals are a fun team.
They're
to
great.
Let me
right.
Yes. Wes.
let me try to explain this in a different way.
Yes.
The Falcons are attractive. To me, you are in love with the Jets. Mark's in love with the Browns.
Well,
Greg, he's kind of I don't know if I'd call it love anymore.
who knows?
But
Greg's-
to me,
I love a lot of teams. Patriots are on the top of the
Greg's
list.
All right,
hard
let's
guy to
let
think
Wes let Wes have a say.
to me, the team of ATL is like falling in love. This happened with the Panthers for me a couple years ago. It's a mystery. You want to know everything about that team. It's like when you have a favorite song and you have to play it 100 times because there are nuances in that song you have to get to know, and you want to unwrap them. That's how I feel about the Cardinals. I don't feel that way about the Falcons.
You seem confident about the ways of love when it comes to football teams.
I've fallen in love several times in my life. I know how it works.
Ooh.
Well, I'm fine with that. I'm with you. I like the Cardinals. I actually went back last night because I don't want to jump on a team that just goes 14-2. That's not really, for me, what the team of ATL is about. I'd like a team that's a little bit more in the middle where you've got to kind of root for them. They're a little bit more the underdog. That's not going to happen this year. That's
They're not the
fine.
favorite.
What
They're
if
their own
we
division.
saw the Cardinals as a team that was going to be 14-2 before everyone else saw that they were going to be 14-2?
Well, we can say that, but they're 3-0.
Right.
Right,
We're-
but I
we're-
wanted them to be the team of ATL in week 1.
But I don't
All right,
even.
well,
I don't care
When
about
everybody
the record.
was giving the division.
That
to the
wasn't really
Seahawks.
my point, but fair enough.
But even right now, people would still think that the Seahawks are the favorite in the division, and I think Wes is.
Well, we're not picking a team to be ahead of everyone
Exactly.
else,
I
right?
think
Is
the
that's
definition
not what we're doing
of
either.
liking the team and wanting to watch them is the perfect definition. And the Cardinals fit that for me, whether we're a year ahead or not. We all liked them last year too, and I like that they are a downtrodden franchise. They're so disrespected, and they've been so in the bottom of the barrel.
Couldn't even make the pain
They
rankings.
couldn't even make the pain rankings, even though they have had the worst franchise overall, top to bottom, in terms of lack of winning since the day they started. It's been in 3 different cities because no city can stand them for so long.
Well, I
He can-
appreciate Greg trying to drum up some enthusiasm for this, so let's.
I'm not
Right, so
trying to
here
drum
we
it
are.
up. It's wildly
Listen,
genuine.
No, that's very
You're
genuine.
not excited about it at all, but I'm totally
Here's the
excited. I
thing.
love the Cardinals.
I think it's just, I'm just saying, if Wes can opine about why he wants this, we all have different viewpoints.
Right,
And I don't
that's
feel
why
the
I would-
same way about
That's
it.
why I would
fine.
vote to get rid of team of ATL.
I'd be fine with that, too.
That is crazy.
I won't stand.
I think the segment is.
I vote no on eliminating the team of ATL.
It's run its course. We all have different, MOs here, and I don't think it's worth being attacked over it.
All right. Well, we're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings here.
Well, I just I want something out of the team that you and Mark don't want.
No,
And that's
I'm with
fine,
you.
but I don't
Which
think
I
But we're
I
saying
don't want to.
that.
I don't want to have to force you guys into
No.
something that you
You're
don't
not.
want to.
You're
Let me
not.
give you one promise. I will promise you, Wes, that once this becomes official, I'm all in. You won't hear me talking about, oh, we should have went with the Falcons. I'm all in. We go with the Cardinals. I'm in on the Cardinals, and let's have some fun.
Exactly.
That's how I feel too. I said I'd vote for 5 different teams. It's not something I'm going to come back to anyone on 5 or 6 times. But the point is, our level of enthusiasm for it is in different places. That's fine
good,
too, by the way.
That's why you close the doors and you figure out who the team is. And I think maybe some things were said. Maybe we could take some things back if we could. Maybe we shouldn't have said some things we should have. But at the end of the day, I think we figured it out. I think the Arizona Cardinals are the 2015 team of around the NFL. Wow. There you go. See?
Well, anything worth having you have to go through trouble for it, and that was like 10 minutes of turmoil. I guess it's got to be valuable if you have to go through that.
Think of having a baby. That's not very easy, and yet
it's easy for you to say.
What comes out? A beautiful little child.
It's an excellent analogy.
Greg went through the fire on that one.
Lest anyone think that our debates are not genuine, like there's a Skip Bayless element. Hell no. That was real debate.
Yeah.
That was real. REAL. And the Cardinals are the team around the NFL, so congratulations, Cardinals. If someone tells you, you'll probably be very confused. So there you go.
We have to decide one more thing.
What?
Are we going to keep calling them the Team of ATL or the Team of ATN or the Team of NFL?
It's poor branding at this point.
Yeah, for those who are new to the show, we used to be the Around the League podcast, and at the time that I contracted Dick Banks for the song, we were still ATL, and then after he recorded it, our show was changed to ATN.
ATNFL.
And Team of ATL was what we called the Panthers. So yes, there's a little bit of ambiguity there, but we're just gonna continue to use both, I guess, unless we want to just nail one and just go forward. Team of ATN.
Team of the Around the NFL podcast.
Oh, that's got a ring to it.
That smells good.
Do you want to keep calling them the Team of ATL?
I'm cool with whatever, but.
It's another reason why it was good not to pick the Falcons. Would have
been
very,
confusing.
Very confusing.
That's true.
Well, we didn't decide anything here.
Well, yeah. Well, that maybe whatever you're most comfortable with, but there is no debating. The Cardinals are the team. There you go. That's how we get things done. Let's move on. It's time.
Special honor.
Congress can't solve anything. We came up with some legislation.
Make America great again.
Political hot take.
It's time to bury some teams that had no chance of being a team of ATL.
These we agree about.
Stick a fork in them.
All right, this is after debate. This is one thing we all got behind on our IM client here at the office, to be the stick a fork in them. Every year we decide which teams have no chance of making playoffs. Not a minute chance. There's no chance. And if we are wrong on any of these teams, Greg in the past has donated to a local food bank, I believe, and never forgot he just kept reminding us about it. Oh, do you remember the time where I had a charitable mind and shared it with my wallet?
Greg gave it to the Young Republicans of Orange County.
That is the last group I would ever give to.
But I will say,
go to hell.
As a group, I would think if we get any of these wrong, we should all chip in and donate to maybe a local shelter or something like that.
That's true, especially with our new liberal leanings not in terms of politically, but everyone just wants to get bold and throw the teams out there. That means we're going to get some wrong, and that
we should all. Is everyone comfortable with that? I'm not saying it's going to affect you being able to pay rent, but we all chip in a little money and we donate if we get something wrong.
Yeah, because talk about a segment that probably should have gotten buried. It's the way we handled this last year, where this is about who we think will make the playoffs or not, and it's not are they mathematically still alive in Week 11? And last year, we want to be ahead of the curve. We were completely behind the curve with this exercise last year.
You didn't do it last year. You guys, this segment was such a waste of time, and I agree that we literally didn't do it last year. Go back and
this time, we're fine being wrong because we're going to try to be bold, and we're going to be bold.
It was the year before where we were bold.
Let's forget the internal semantics of the podcast. This year, we will be forking teams, and we will donate to a charity if we blow one. Is that cool with you too, Wes?
Absolutely.
All right, so these are the teams that we all agreed on. There are 6 teams out of 32. Greg, there are 32 teams in the NFL. There are 6 teams that are already done. No chance. If any of these teams make the playoffs, a charity gets some fundage. The Chicago Bears. The Cleveland Browns. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. the Detroit Lions, New Orleans Saints, and the San Francisco 49ers. So those teams are all done. We all agreed on IM about these teams, but is there any of these teams that any of us are a little nervous about, sneaky nervous?
Well, the Lions won 11 games last year, so they're a logical pick. 0-3.
I'm a little uneasy about that.
0-3 is a tough
Yep.
hole. I would actually say the Buccaneers, just because that.
Okay.
I guess I don't feel bad about anyone. That division, you just never know what could possibly happen. But no, I feel good about all these.
We had some close calls,
Yeah,
which we can wait for. But this group here, I have no issues with.
If we're
Playoff-wise,
If we were hesitant to fork the Lions in the same division with the Packers, this segment would be useless.
But they don't need to win the division. They didn't.
Right,
have
but they would at 0-3, they have to beat out about 6 or 7 other good teams for a wild card, and they're not playing well, and their offensive line has issues, and their quarterback has issues,
Yeah.
and their defense is being shredded. Fork them.
If I had to pick one of these teams that would be the most likely, I take back my answer. It would definitely be the 49ers, because the 49ers have played 3 games, and they're a team I don't think we know. I know they've been terrible the last couple of weeks.
Talk about a team in a tough division.
But
They're not getting past the
they're
Seahawks
in a
and
tough
Cardinals.
division, but it just wouldn't shock me.
Wait,
if
you have
they
the
start
Rams with the
playing
second best record in this division.
I'm just saying they have pieces on their team. They've played great 1 of 3
What are
games.
those pieces?
They have good. I think they have a decent front 7. I think they have
Their front
good
seven
running
got
back.
shredded the past 2 weeks.
By the way,
well, we just put them
the
in the grave.
Lions,
So
the Lions, they are 0-3 at Seahawks next week. That's 0-4. They also have 2 more games against the Packers. They'd be lucky to win one of those. So there's really you doom yourself when you start 0-3.
Yeah.
No team has made the playoffs since '98 when that's happened. So here are some close calls. Teams that got either 2 or 3 votes. But it has to be unanimous for us to fork. Raiders, Jaguars, Texans, Redskins, and I included the Ravens here because none of us nominated them, but they are 0-3, so they deserve a place on the close call list. Mark, you were defending both the Raiders and Redskins. Your thoughts?
Well, the Redskins are in an NFC East that, Romo's out till week 11. The whole division is topsy-turvy, and I think the Redskins legitimately are going to be a better team than we saw last year. No matter what happened against the Giants, I really do think that they're going to be hanging around till the end. The Raiders, I'll fight for them because they could go 3-1 beating Chicago this week. I don't think it's a complete fluke. The record is not, just something that's completely made up because I think you've got a quarterback that's playing much better than we expected. You've got Amari Cooper. You've got a good level of talent on defense. And weird things happen in an AFC where there aren't that many powerhouses. I could see them going right to the end and being kind of frisky, and I don't want to rule them out yet.
Let the record show. I went to the mat for the Raiders here. They're a little frisky. Who knows what they're going to be the rest of the year?
Yep.
And the Redskins, to me, their Week 2 game against the Rams was the most complete game any NFC East team has played this year.
I agree, but you guys were just talking about getting bold, and I was thinking, well, what's bolder than forking a team with a winning record? You're not going to have too many chances.
I did not.
That's fair.
And I did not.
You guys were just bold. Let's get bold. It's like, do I think the Raiders have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs? No.
So never make too much.
So you would have
one
forked
game.
it today.
Yeah. I'm the one that suggested.
I mean, the Thursday night game was so ugly to me, and I don't even know if the Dolphins are any good. They might be a total train wreck, which is another one of their wins. So I would have forked them too, but I get it. And Wes, I held off on the Texans because the division is still weird. I don't know what we're going to get from the Colts.
I'd fork them now.
Yeah, I'd fork them in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
they might have the
have-
worst quarterback situation in the league.
Maybe they might, but they also have J.J. Watt and Arian Foster's coming back, and it's a bad division. So I'm not quite ready on that. And Wes, you were in defense of the Jaguars.
Well, just because I would, if it's between the Jaguars and the Texans, to me, easily take the Texans, fork the Texans because they don't have a quarterback. The Jaguars might have a quarterback.
I mean, in reality, we should probably have almost every forkable team done within the next 4 or 5 weeks tops.
Yeah, we should move.
Right? We should know we should be bold enough to not be doing
it's
this
just
in week 11.
It's predicting, essentially. It's not saying, that they have no chance. Obviously, most of the AFC South is going to have a chance until we see that that the Colts could possibly pull away, which no one is expecting at this point.
All right, so there you go. Those are the 6 teams that are done for. We will track this closely, and I'm sure there's going to be at least one team out of this group that might make us sweat a little bit, but that's usually how these things work out. But we shall see. All right, moving on, gentlemen, to the Thursday night preview. The Ravens, who we just talked about, not forked by the Around the NFL podcast, but they are 0-3, and now they got to go to Pittsburgh. And this is where maybe you could say fate enters the room for the Ravens, a team that is always in the playoff mix, it seems, in the last 15 years. And under normal circumstances, this would have been the death knell, 0-3, and then go to Pittsburgh in prime time to face Ben Roethlisberger. However, Ben Roethlisberger has a knee injury. He won't play for several weeks, so Mike Vick enters the picture. Mark, I'll start with you. I know you are very, bold or very vocal about your distaste for the Ravens for obvious reasons, knowing the history. But do you think that this is a game where they could round up all the troops and put some life back into their franchise?
I do, and I think they will. I mean, the Big Ben injury is unfortunate for Pittsburgh, but for the Ravens, it might be the thing that, if they are going to get back into this race, sort of save their season, because I think Mike Vick is very vulnerable and can be, gotten to. And the Ravens have plenty of deficiencies, but they got to get back on the board at some point. And so I wouldn't fork them this week because I think they're going to win this game.
I think their quarterback, Joe Flacco has been playing well. Steve Smith is playing very well. They haven't been a terrible team, but when you think of the Ravens, you think of playmakers on defense. Who is their playmaker right now on defense? Jimmy Smith, they thought was going to be good. Jimmy Smith is getting torched by great receivers, but he's getting torched. So if he's not really a number one cornerback, the rest of that secondary is bad. When you have guys like when Lawrence Guy is making the most plays from your defense, that's a problem. They don't have anyone that sticks out to you.
Can I just say, because, Mark, you mentioned the reason why you didn't fork them is because you think they'll win. I would think, especially we were just talking about the Stick of Forking 'em series, that we want to be bold this year. We have to all be picking the Ravens this week because they wouldn't come back from 0-4, right? Wes?
Well, who knows? I don't know. They're the Ravens.
That's the only reason.
No, I don't think anyone's ever come back from 0-4.
I have a harder time writing off a proud team with a winning tradition like the Ravens than I do some other teams like the Lions, where when did the Lions ever show backbone? I don't know. To me, that's a harder. Anecdotally, it seems like more than half the games Ben Roethlisberger has missed in his career have been against the Ravens.
Yes.
It's not more than half, but it is 6.
He does not like playing Baltimore.
It's 6 out of 16, which is a huge amount considering it's just one team. It's crazy. It'll be 7 now.
I don't have Sesslers very often, but before Michael Vick signed in August, I did have a Sessler that he would land with a team and lead that team to the playoffs. And there is. I actually went and did a lot of research on older quarterbacks, and there's always a guy. I thought maybe it'd be Ryan Fitzpatrick. There's always a guy in his mid-30s who leads a team to the playoffs with a bounce-back season coming out of nowhere. And a similar quarterback, remember Randall Cunningham's season with the 98 Vikings?
Oh, yeah.
Cunningham had been retired.
What a story.
They pulled him out of retirement. He was a running guy, and he became a better passer with the Vikings. I don't know.
Well, and he's supported by one of the best offensive lines in the league, one of, if not the best wide receiver in the league, in Antonio Brown, who it shows how good Julio Jones is that no one's talking about Antonio Brown this year. He has been unbelievable. You have Le'Veon Bell back. You have all sorts of talent, and the defense looks better. It's not great, but it looks better the last 2 weeks. Stephon Tuitt's playing well. Maybe they get Ryan Shazier back. It certainly wouldn't be a surprise if Vic can help them win this game.
I do like the matchup between Baltimore's passing game, which actually, they lack weapons entirely, but Flacco's put up a ton of yardage over the past 2 weeks, and I'm not in love with Pittsburgh's secondary. This game is not going to be. It doesn't help at all that it's in Pittsburgh, but the Ravens, like you said, Dan, if we didn't fork them, they can't go 0-4.
Right. I thought that last week. I have to say, I'm going to pick the Ravens again this week. But the reason I picked them last week against the Bengals is because I was like, oh, well, there's no way they'll start 0-3 in their own building. So now my confidence is shaken about doubling down on this, like Wes said, like a proud franchise with a winning tradition. But I'm going to do it because, I think they were saved by the football gods with Roethlisberger being out of the picture, I think they're going to take advantage of this.
I think philosophically, I always wonder why anybody has great confidence in their weekly picks. Even if I think the Steelers are going to win by 51 to 49%, It's not enough for me to assume that the Ravens are going to go 0-4.
Yeah, the question to me is which Michael Vick is it? Can Todd Haley, and we've already heard some whispers about the things he's cooking up. Watch out. Todd Haley loves throwing wacky stuff out there. He's going to really love it with Michael Vick. I mean, I forget what insider it was, but it was someone that talks to Haley was like, just watch what they've got cooked up for Thursday night. So we'll see. It's which Mike Vick, because the Michael Vick in New York couple games was a fine starter, and a couple games gave his team absolutely no chance to win.
Right. He was – I mean, I need to be convinced that this guy isn't over the hill because I didn't see it last year. And there's a reason he stayed unemployed for so long because everyone watched the same tape. So now here's the question. You put him with some stud talent like he's got now. What does Michael Vick look like? Maybe that's what made Randall Cunningham look so good in 98.
No doubt. And,
you know, you never know.
And everyone thought that Randall Cunningham was washed up to the point, like I said, that he was retired. Nobody wanted him.
All right, let's go around and make some picks. Marc Sessler, pick and score, please, sir.
Ravens 21-20.
Yum. Wes.
Steelers 27-24.
I will go Ravens 20-17.
Yeah, I would take the Steelers as well in a high-scoring game, something like 30-27. Another one that they find a way to blow at the end.
All right, so there is our Thursday pick, sponsored by nobody. When are we going to get sponsored? Let's get sponsored. I see Sheck is sponsored by McDonald's. Burger King, you out there? Wendy's, where are you? Nike? Give me all the money. I want all the money.
You don't get that money.
I know.
The NFL gets the money.
I feel like the money will trickle down if you. Nike
Nice try.
gives us a chance. Hey, Apple, what's up? Anyway, before we go, GoGetMyLunch.org is really our favorite site. The site, listen, we might have to go behind closed doors and hammer out a team around the NFL like we did today. But there is no debating the best website associated with the Around the NFL group, besides NFL.com, would be GoGetMyLunch.org. Nick Fortier, one of our fans. Where is Nick from, by the way? Do we know?
I assume the Bayou
American?
with that name, but I didn't.
Parts unknown. We're still looking into that.
Don't you just think he's on a swamp in the Bayou?
He has responded to some Panthers things I've written. I believe he's a huge Steve Smith fan. Maybe he's from
Steve
South.
Smith transcends the universe, though. There's no way to know. It doesn't matter, really. It does matter, but we don't know. Nick, reach out to us. Let us know where you're from. Anyway, his site, GoGetMyLunch.org, has all our sandwich propositions. It has other fun things associated with the show. And also, just uploaded or added to the site last week, a soundboard. So before we go, the Irishman, Brandon McGinnis, if you can share some of the greatest hits off the GoGetMyLunch.org soundboard for Around the NFL. Let's hear some.
This better be a flamethrower that ends broadcast radio.
That one's called Flamethrower. How about another one?
What is that?
That's Lovie Smith's Hot Butt. That's a solid one. I like that one. What else we got?
I speak Spanish.
Yeah. Colleen Wolf dropping some Spanish. Keep rolling.
You're a coward.
Uncalled for.
Famously, Andrew called
Incorrect.
out Mark Brown's situation. Anything else?
Well, Marvin Lewis is an idiot.
I like that one. We should have that ready for
We got
every
one for Wes.
Yeah.
Everyone can suck it. No, that's not me. That's me. What about one for Wes?
It's about me.
So check that out. Those are all
Appropriate.
good. Nick Fortier from Parts Unknown. GoGetMyLunch.org. All right. That's it. So what did we accomplish today?
We accomplished a lot. We chose a team.
We chose a team of ATL, the Arizona Cardinals. Congratulations, guys. Proud lineage. Panthers in 2013, the Chargers in 2014, and now the Cardinals in 2015. So what does it mean? If anyone's curious, what does it all mean? I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess we mention it a lot that they're the team of ATL. That's usually how it works out, right?
We root them on.
Yeah, we root for them.
We
want
support
them.
them. We do. Who knows? Maybe
Until
we'll
they
have
inevitably
merchandise.
crumble in the postseason.
Carson Palmer disappears somehow, and then some jabroni backup foils them again.
What if they went on to win the Super Bowl? Would that be heartening or disheartening?
No, it would be unbelievable. It'd be great. That'd be the best possible result. We go cover the team of ATL.
Why do you hesitate?
I don't know. It almost makes me feel bad. I think that might say something about me. I don't want them to be that.
You don't want
Oh,
love.
I see.
No,
You
I don't want
love.
everyone to like our person.
Well, they're 3-0, so there can
It's
be a lot
our
of
special.
bandwagon
It's our
people
special
jumping on.
team.
That's
I don't want everyone jumping on
thi-
that bandwagon.
But we
You
release
deserve
them
it.
the moment
we
the
see
season
something
ends.
special about them that other people don't see.
Chris, you deserve happiness. You deserve love. You deserve something.
That's true.
At least a winning football team.
This love that deserves to last.
Oh,
To the home
you guys are too perfect.
base. I was actually asking for the piano, but it's over now. Brandon, this isn't going to work, Brandon. Listen, you only got 2 shows left, so you got to make sure you get the timing right.
Remember when I told you that I wanted your shows to be horrible? Maybe
Yes.
I'm just starting a little bit early. Maybe I'm just starting.
Brandon's got one more show left, so we're excited to have one more show with the Great Irishman. So that's it for Tuesday's edition of the Around the NFL podcast. We'll be back Thursday night with our Thursday recap and Friday and all the games on Sunday. Until then, this is Dan Hanzus signing off for the Quiet Storm, the mailman, the boss. Until then,